this video, I'm going to show you how to edit a MetaReviewer coding form template. There are two ways to edit a MetaReviewer coding form template: in the Google document containing the coding form template, or using the Survey.js creator tool in MetaReviewer. In this video, I'm going to focus on editing a coding form template using the Google document containing the coding form template generated for you by MetaReviewer. We recommend that you use this approach when you want to either customize a coding form template as part of your project setup, or if you'd like to make edits to your customized coding form before beginning data extraction. Before we get started, make sure you have the cyberbullying meta-analysis codebook pulled up in front of you. We are going to use the information in this codebook to inform the edits to our coding form template. Let's get started with editing a coding form template in a Google document. The first thing you need to do when editing a coding form template in a Google document is locate your template generated for you by MetaReviewer in your Google Drive. If you don't have a coding form template, please pause this video and create a new project following the steps in the MetaReviewer user guide. Each coding form template consists of a series of tables within your Google document. These tables get imported into MetaReviewer and populate the pages of a user-friendly survey-like coding form that your data readers will use. Tables fall into one of two categories: form tables and question tables. Form tables, like the one highlighted here, determine the number of distinct pages in your coding form. As you can see, for the cyberbullying toy example, there are 6 form tables that result in 6 pages of the coding form. You'll also find in your coding form template question tables, like the one highlighted here. Question tables create the variables in your coding form for which data readers will extract information. Question tables will render on MetaReviewer like the questions of a survey. Now that you have located your coding form template, it's time for step 2, making edits. There are lots of different ways that you can edit an existing coding form template. Let's walk through a few together. One change you might want to make to your coding form template is the format in which questions appear on a form page. As you can see in the cyberbullying toy example coding form, the sample characteristics page, defined by this form table, lists questions in matrix format. Let's go over to MetaReviewer to see how it renders. As you can see in the rendered coding form, if we navigate to the sample characteristics page, all of the questions are listed in matrix format. This allows you to add a column for each additional sample and answer each question for each sample in your study. If you prefer to see questions laid out one below the other, as you might in a regular survey, you can change the form type from matrix vertical to normal. Let's see how a normal page renders in MetaReviewer. Now we can see from the sample characteristics page that each question that exists in the coding form template in the form of these question tables following the sample characteristics form table is now listed one below the other as in a regular survey. We recommend that you be careful when changing form types in MetaReviewer. Some pages have carefully selected form types to accommodate complex data extraction. For example, when we change the sample characteristics form type from matrix to normal, we lost the ability to add information about multiple samples in a study and extract data for each sample. Another edit that you are more likely to make is adding questions to a form page. For instance, you can see in the coding form template generated for you by MetaReviewer that the study information page consists of 3 questions. However, when we navigate back to our codebook, we see that there are perhaps other questions about the study's funding status or the country or region where the study was conducted that would be worth adding to this study information page. When adding a question to a coding form, we advise that you copy and paste an existing question table and then edit the text to reflect the content of the new question. So here, I'm going to copy this question table about funding and paste right below it. Pulling up the codebook, I'm going to add a question about the country or region where the study was conducted. I'll begin by changing the name or ID for the question table. There are typically 3 options for question formats in MetaReviewer. You can have a checkbox, a radio group, or a drop-down. For this question, let's make it a radio group so you can see how that renders in MetaReviewer. Then, in the title row, I'll add our question. In which country or region was the study conducted? By and large, you can leave the description row blank, and you can make a choice about whether or not this question requires an answer for the data reader to proceed through the coding form. For now, we'll leave required at no. Finally, our last step is to update the answer choices. Navigating back to our codebook, we see that there are 4 responses that are possible. Here, that we've now included the 4 answer options in our new question table. Let's go back to this description row. You might find that it's useful to give additional information to your data readers to help them properly extract data. For this question, we might add a description defining Scandinavian countries. So we might say, Scandinavian countries include Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. As we can see on the study information page for our updated coding form, we have our added question in the radio group format, and it includes the description to help our data readers. Another edit you are likely to make is revising the text for questions and answer options for a question. For instance, when we look at the sample characteristics page of our cyberbullying coding form, we see that it actually already includes a question about the country of origin for the sample. However, this question is a text box that allows users to put in any answer that they'd like. As we can see in our codebook, we would like to restrict the answer to this question to 4 options. So we can go back to our cyberbullying coding form template, find the sample characteristics form table, and scroll down to find the question table associated with the country of origin. We can make changes up to this table to make sure that it suits our needs. We won't change the name of the table because this is a pretty good name for the question that we're going to use. We are going to change the type from text to dropdown. Given that this is a drop-down question, we're going to adjust the question a little bit. Let's scroll back up to the question table that we used when we didn't realize that this question existed in the template. I'm going to copy paste that. And replace the text in this title cell. Similarly, we're going to add the description from the other version of this question to help our data readers. Finally, we're going to include the answer options for this question. Note that as it stands, this cell is left blank, and that's the case for any question that's a text question. But because we changed the question to a drop-down question, we need to include answers in the choices box. After you've made all of your edits to the coding form, you'll want to re-upload the form to MetaReviewer. This cyberbullying toy example coding form 3 is the most recent version. I'm going to navigate to it and copy the document ID. I'll now go back to MetaReviewer, which is open to my project page. From my project page, I'm going to go to Edit Coding Forms. Before uploading my new coding form, I'm going to archive the existing coding form by clicking the ellipses under Actions and selecting Archive Form. I'll now click on this Add New Form button. This will take me to the Google Docs Survey Builder form. Here, I'm going to enter that document ID and click Submit. It can take a little time for MetaReviewer to process a coding form. But once it's processed, you'll receive a green notification and you'll be taken back to your coding form page. Now we can click on Actions and go to View Form. We'll see that the question we had added to the study information page is now removed. And if we navigate to sample characteristics and scroll down, we'll see that we've adjusted the question about the country in which the study was conducted. And that's it. You've now learned how to add, edit, and delete questions from a coding form in order to customize it before beginning data extraction.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you all for joining us to learn a little bit more about coding forms in MetaReviewer. And now a couple quick reminders before we go. Stay up to date on the latest MetaReviewer has to offer by signing up for the beta testing program by going to metareviewer.org and clicking on the Try MetaReviewer button at the top. Follow up on Twitter using the @meta_reviewer handle, or email the help desk at metareviewer@air.org. Thanks for watching.